Hey everybody, welcome to Our Worship Sound. My name is Peter, and today we're going to be doing a video that I've been thinking about doing for a long time, and that is I'm going to finally show you how I have my main keyboard rig set up at my home church, which is Body of Christ Church in Ames, Iowa. So I'm going to try to work it with this 2-camera setup, and we'll see if we can make something happen here. So anyway, let me take a step back. This is the maximum setup I would ever use. Normally I'm just going to get by with one board, but this is what I have to use occasionally. I'll tell you what I do, what I use different aspects of this for. So on the bottom I have my Yamaha S80, and I use it mainly for the piano sounds. It's got the grand piano expansion card in it. This is a Roland XP80. And it also has some expansion cards, and it has a really cool drum. Well, it's actually kind of a data drum sound now, but it has a bass expansion card too. And I actually use this either for just for the MIDI output to control the sounds in Mainstage, or I use it if our bass player is missing, and I'll play the bass sounds on this, and it sounds pretty cool. Then I have my MAudio 02 that I just used to control tracks within Ableton Live. So here's an example. Just a couple of tracks that we used on Sunday, and that's all I use it for, is just to control the tracks and loops in Ableton. And down here I have my Akai LPD8 that I use to control the sounds within Mainstage, which is the software that I use for all synthesizer sounds and also for layering with my piano sounds. Okay, so well, let me show you this. So this is my rack case with which kind of routes everything that's going on here. The first thing we have is just a firm-end power conditioner. It's just basically a glorified power strip and surge protector. This is the audio interface that I use for everything coming out of the computer. And this is a Presonus FirePod, and these are the inputs. You notice I don't really use the inputs. I have this for the outputs. It has 8 separate outputs, and I'll show you what I use those for in a minute. Now down here is a Behringer Eurorack Pro, and this is the line mixer that I use for all of my keyboard sounds. Now Behringer kind of gets a bad rap in the music industry. They're kind of a lower cost item. I actually saw this in a video online. I was watching a video of the music director for Black Eyed Peas. His name is Prince Board, and he was showing his live rig that he used for these major arena tours and everything, and I actually spotted one of these Behringer line mixers in his rack. So if it's good enough for him, I think it's going to work for me. Now down here on the bottom of the rack, I have a Whirlwind MultiDirector, which is just a rack unit with 4 DI boxes in it essentially. Now coming out of the MultiDirector, I have 2 channels of keyboard mix, and I have 2 channels of track mix. Okay, so we separate those out. I run both of them in stereo. I send a separate stereo signal for keyboards and tracks to the board. All right, now if I'm running this for bass, because our bass player is gone, I actually have a line out of it that goes directly to the bass head and the amp and the cabinet, the 410 cabinet. So it gives a little more low end and power to what I hear when I'm playing it. Okay, so that's the front end of it. Let me show you in the back. It'll kind of help everything to kind of come together. Here's the back of the rack case, and it looks like a big mess of cables, but I'll try to explain everything that's going on. First of all, this is a powered USB hub, and it works better than an unpowered, just regular USB splitter, because once you start hooking up different USB devices, whether it be MIDI controllers or hard drives, you may find that just splitting the input doesn't give enough power to each device, and so I recommend something like this, and this costs about $30. But you actually plug it into the electrical output. You plug it into the wall or whatever, and it kind of gives enough juice to each device. So that saved me a lot of headache to have that going. All right, so I have everything, the electrical up here. Now this is the audio interface again for everything coming out of the computer. I have 5 of the 8 outputs used. This pair of outputs are for Ableton tracks. So these outputs go right down to the MultiDirector output, and so this pretty much goes directly through the DI to the board. This one I'm going to skip over here to number 5, and you can see the red shrink tubing. That's actually my work. I did a custom snake cable that comes out down out here, and that was what you saw plugged into the MultiDirector in front. I think this is, it looks like it's an 8-channel snake cable. I've got 5 channels, one of which is this. Okay, this is a direct output for the metronome click out of Ableton Live. So from Ableton, I've got a stereo track mix, and I've got a separate metronome or click track that comes out of it. So this goes to its own channel on the board, and our drummer has a direct feed of it, so he can mix it into his monitor pack, and the rest of us can get it mixed into our earphone mixes as well. This output is for the sounds coming out of Mainstage. So stereo output from Mainstage. So that's everything coming out of the computer. The Mainstage outputs feed into my keyboard line mixer. So these are the Mainstage inputs on the line mixer. This is my main keyboard, my S80 input. So those get mixed together. If I were to plug in any other keyboards or anything like that, that would also go into the line mixer. So the output from the line mixer goes into the MultiDirector, and that's what you saw coming out on the front end. So I've got 2 outputs for the stereo keyboard mix, 2 outputs for the stereo track mix, 1 for the click track. I have a cable that comes up to my vocal microphone, and also 1 line that comes back, or is it 2 lines? It's something like that. 1 line I think that comes back for my monitor mix. And so what we use for monitoring are we use the Shure. I think this is a P4HW, HW for hardwired. This is an in-ear monitor pack. It's a lot less expensive than the wireless systems, way less expensive. And the nice thing about these is they have 2 inputs, which you can control with this. You can mix them with this gray knob. 2 inputs. One of them goes into a send from the board. That's just kind of a one monitor mix that some of us instrumentalists share, and the other input I plug directly into my line mixer, so I can get a direct feed from my keyboard that I can mix in with whatever I'm getting from the board. And so all those I worked into my snake cable that I made, and it really makes for a nice clean setup that's easy to move around if I need to. So now that I set up to fit in a rack case, so it would be extra neat. And it would also have the track output too. I want to show you another system that I just put together recently that gives a lot of the same functionality, but it's a lot less expensive and it's a lot simpler setup. So we'll go take a look at that. All right, so this is based around a little bit simpler setup. This is a Roland A90 piano, and it has some of the same functionalities as my S80 in that you can mix 4 sounds at a time. It's nice that you can turn on and turn off sounds. You can just mute them with these buttons as well. So you don't have to fade them in, you can just turn them on if you want. I've got the same LPD8 to control sounds from Mainstage, and just like the other system, that's where the computer would go and it would have Mainstage running on it. And down here, a lot of the same types of things, just a little different equipment. This is an MAudio Uno MIDI interface. On the other rig, the FirePod acted as the MIDI interface, so I didn't need a separate one there, but that works for over here. I've got the same USB hub. And back here we've got a Behringer UCA202 audio interface. It just gives a little bit cleaner output than the headphone jack on a typical computer. Over here I've got a Xenix 502 mixer from Behringer. I can get 2 stereo inputs from it. So this is the stereo input from the main keyboard, and this is the stereo input from the audio interface, so what we get from the computer. Over here are the main outputs, and then this is the headphone output, which we use to so this keyboard player can use that for his monitor pack, and that just plugs into his monitor pack there. Down below here, I've got 2 Whirlwind IMP2 DI boxes, and so I have that instead of the MultiDirector. Everything is Velcroed down except for that mixer. I still have to Velcro that down, but if you wanted to move it around, it wouldn't get all jumbled up, so it keeps everything nice and tidy and clean and everything too. So anyway, that's a little bit simpler setup. It's a little bit cheaper, and it's just another way to do it. So I hope that's been helpful, just showing you how I mix the different outputs from the computer and the tracks and keyboard sounds and all that. So it's really not too bad, and there's a number of different options that you can do to make it simple. So anyway, have a good one. Thanks for watching.